Good afternoon, John. Donovan.
Hey, Marty.
Welcome to our Intentional Living podcast. I'm coming to you this Friday from Costa Rica, up
Yeah.
in the cloud forest country in Monteverde, with my good
Mhm.
friend Victoria, who's my hostess par excellence, who hosted you and me last year when we came to Costa Rica.
Yeah, that was an
And
excellent trip. We got to go to where the Costa Rican people are because Victoria knows a lot of people there. So yeah,
yes,
that was
yes,
really
and
cool.
we've already been visiting with some of those folks that you and I visited with last time, and we're going to see more. But we're up here for a couple of days, and next week we're going to head over to the Caribbean coast and spend a few days down there.
Oh
So see a
wow.
completely different part of the country.
I'm coming back. I'm going to come back, and whatever coast we get to, I'm going to rent a fishing pole and maybe a boat. I don't know, probably a boat too. I don't know. I can surf fish, but boat would be nice. So
Yeah, remember the gentleman who drove us around last time, Oscar?
yeah, yeah.
He was telling us that during COVID, he just went down to the Caribbean and got up every morning and threw his fishing line into this ocean and brought out fish, and that's what he ate during the day.
Oh wow. Yeah. Okay.
So you can do that.
Yeah, we can. I can do that.
Or as you would say in the context of accountability, you can have that.
I can have that. Yeah.
So I thought I'd get us kicked off here by sharing some experiences I've had. This could come under the topic of wherever you go, there you are.
Uh-huh.
Um, so I just notice here I'm in a different country, a different culture. I'm with a friend I've known for 40 years. And it's always good to get away because it helps me see things in my subconscious that maybe I can not see that easily when I'm home and I'm surrounded by a familiar environment. And there, all these things are nothing. There's no big deal, but it's uh, that list of rights and wrongs that I carry around in my subconscious
Uh,
that are they may oftentimes just be incidental things like turn left instead of turn right, and there's a voice in my head goes, no, 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 you turn right here. uh,
yeah.
Things as simple as that. So I noticed when you're in a country like Costa Rica, it doesn't run with the same precision as things often do in the States. And so learning to release judgment about things that don't happen on time or as quickly as I think they should or whatever is part of the opportunity here. Um, so, for example, the Costa Rica road system is a bit of a challenge. And
Yeah.
to get up here to St. Helena when we're about, what did we say, about 4,500 feet above sea level here. And to get here, we had to go down to sea level from San Jose and then come back up into this part of Costa Rica. And the roads up here are often very miserable. They're unpaved, and so you're bouncing around. Like, remember, like we did when we went up to Vigny and Graciela's place. On
Yes.
the remember that road that like we had to go 3 miles an hour.
Right.
Um, so it's not quite that bad, but it's like that. And so I'm dealing with the voice in my head that goes, "We're going to be late. What do we, and just watching anxiety automatically show up just by having casting my mind into the future. When are we going to get there? We have a thing on our schedule. What's going to happen if we don't get there on time? Same thing happened yesterday morning. We had a reservation for 7:30 a.m. for a guided tour up in the Santa Elena cloud forest. And we got in a taxi on time and we forgot where we were going, and he started taking us to a different reserve. And he had to turn around and go back completely in the other direction. And I'm like, oh my God, what if we don't get there on time? Is the guide going to wait for us? Blah, blah, blah. And it's just amazing to me to notice this automatic anxiety generator. And, the truth is, I noticed that I was doing that. And I basically gave myself permission to be anxious. And I also gave myself permission to let God be in charge of this, and to, whatever happens is going to happen, and we'll figure it out when we get there. So I just find it's invaluable for me to get out of my environment, and it helps me see those deep, hidden, subconscious energies and beliefs that are still there, persistent, and to learn to befriend them, because that's what I want to do. I want to befriend every single element of my soul. And in order to befriend them, I have to see them. I have to meet them. And so that's something I wanted to check in with you on as we kicked off the podcast.
Yeah, let me get up on the board. When I do my Saturday morning group, I have this board work, and I talk about obstacles, and what you just said speaks to one of the obstacles. Can you make me co-host?
That would be a good thing. Sorry, folks, give us a chance to do a little bit of technical housekeeping here.
Okay. There you go. FD capture. Okay. So just for the sake of putting this in context, before I go over the obstacles, and one of them we're going to talk about is the expectations, like I expect to be on time, what's going to happen, right, wrong. I ask people what they want that they don't have. So I know you already know this, or you could think about it right now and articulate what it is that you want that you don't have. And then sometimes people will ask for peace or acceptance, to be in the flow. Okay. The obstacles are experiences. And then the belief, perceptions, and patterns of behavior that I developed based on my experience. And when I'm talking about experience, my experiences are held in my memory, 1/10 conscious, 9/10 subconscious. And in the subconscious is where we hold our wounding. And that wounding, 10/10 of our consciousness, informs our decision-making process, or our response or reaction to the moment. One of the things that's an obstacle are expectations. I should be, and this is the right, wrong, good, bad, positive, negative, good feelings, bad feelings. These are all expectations that keep me from moving to what it is I say I want, which peace of mind, or being in the flow, or accepting. And they're the most insidious, because they're the ones we articulate. They come out of our mouth like, I need to, I have to, I got to, I should. How come why are they always, those are expectations of self. And then the expectations that you were talking about is what's going to happen. We're supposed to be on time. Our experiences are all used. The information in our memory is used in the decision-making process. And before it gets to action, it goes through what I'm calling it, it's what it is, a reticular activating system. It's a net-like group of cells that filter out non-essential information based on what our focus is. if the focus I developed as a child was get it right, be on time, what's wrong with me, that information is what the reticular activating system looks for, because I survived my childhood by being hypervigilant or being worrying about how things happen, right, wrong, am I doing it right, am I doing it wrong, and keeps me from just like today. If that were me, I'd go, okay, I'm going to get there when I get there, and what's going to happen is going to happen. I even have this idea that if something interrupts me, like I'm driving and I hit all the red lights, well, I'm hitting all the red lights, so maybe if I hit green lights, I would be at a place where the accident would happen, and now the red lights kept me from. So I'm cool. Oh, shit, another red light. And I can become proactive, or I can settle down, know that whatever happens is going to happen. I don't have an expectation that things happen a certain way. So the reticular activating system that filters and maintains the condition from my childhood, like get it right, hypervigilance. If something comes in and they call it trigger, it's more of something happens in the room, or like the guy picked the wrong road, or you didn't know, or you gave him the wrong directions. Then the criticism starts and the expectations start, which keep me from experiencing being proactive in the place I am, in the now moment. I'm reactive instead of proactive, and that causes stress. Well, I got the results here: codependency, addiction, and avoidant behavior, which is worrying about what's going to happen. So hope that explains. I'm kind of running out of words. Oh, it's hooked into the fight, flight, freeze. So in the survival mechanism. So in my childhood, I was dismissed, ignored, traumatized, and my body's safety mechanism, which is shut down, is fueled by adrenaline. For me to shut down or freeze or fight or flight, but mostly what I did as a child was freeze or please. I call it fawning. Make sure that they're happy so I don't get the brunt of their angst and resentment. My body is looking in present moment for the same body chemistry because I survived. So the behavior, the results are in alignment and recreate the body chemistry of my childhood, which is adrenaline, worry, angst, right, wrong. What am I going to do? And knowing this, well, just knowing it, it gives me an explanation of why I found myself in codependency, addiction, and or whether it was, I don't gamble because I don't like losing money, but violent behavior, watching TV all day long, avoidant behavior. It gave me a reason why I was doing that, because of that's how I survived. I'm surviving, and the memory and the reticular activating system is subjective. It doesn't equivocate. Its job is to maintain my survival, and if I survive with an adrenaline rush, I will recreate that in my adulthood so I can survive, and it doesn't make sense to any rational sense to me. So yeah, reticular activating system, subconscious pool of information, recreating my childhood, and then putting me in a set of behaviors that I say I don't want. I don't know if that helps, or if you got a question.
Well, one of the things that I notice is that the more I focus on discovering this information, that that you have just pointed out resides in the subconscious.
Right.
That it seems that there are deeper and deeper layers of information that, so for example, I've gotten to the point in doing the accountability practice, much, I think, as you were suggesting and talking about being in traffic. It's like,
Yeah.
no matter what goes on in traffic, I'm usually okay with it. It's like, oh, there's my 15th red light. Okay, there's my 15th red light. I get to practice being at peace. And that's more or less automatic. But what's under there, the new information is more along the lines of criticizing myself for not getting accountability right every single time.
Yeah.
For forgetting to ask myself, what do I want? For forgetting to notice what's going on, for being caught back up in the compulsion and the behavior and the feeling state, for not loving that inner kid enough. And so it's like another layer of shoulds
Right.
that I've discovered. And that's where I'm living now, is I'm in this deeper part. I don't know if that's accurate, but I'm in the deeper part of my subconscious than I've ever been before. And it's a really exciting challenge, because it's like, I'm trying to think of a metaphor here. It's like when your skin gets sunburned, it's your skin. I mean, this feels like a part of me that has no desire to change. And again,
Correct.
I'm just talking as a metaphor. I don't really know how to put it into words, but I
Well,
thought I would throw it out there, because that's the next layer that I'm discovering, is learning to be at peace with myself no matter what shows up, including reverting to old behaviors, indulging in old compulsions. And I'm still dealing with that. Well, you shouldn't do that. I'm this deeper levels of should might be a succinct way of describing what I'm experiencing.
this the reticular activating system, I'm going to go back up on the board, is in the part of the brain that we call limbic or reptilian. Or it's in the brainstem, and the brainstem, when we started coming out of the ocean, is reptilian brain. It was designed to keep me alive. So it's sophisticated. It's taken millions of years to, and it worked. I mean, I heard somebody talking about how long ago was the first amoeba, and then a continuous chain of life from however many millions of years ago to now. That's powerful. So this mechanism is powerful. It's almost like it had, excuse me, a mind of its own.
Yeah.
It's it's ingrained. It's called instinct, and it's been conditioned in my childhood for I don't know, 12, 13 years. It was consistent trauma, consistent upheaval, consistent chaos, and I survived. So this imprinted in this powerful mechanism that has no words. It doesn't use words. It goes by frequency, shift, change, and it's sophisticated. I don't know if I want to go here, and I'm going to go here. It's almost like it's somebody out to get me. So
Yeah,
when
that's the experience. Yeah.
I was raised Catholic. So in the Catholic religion, they have Satan, Lucifer, who is hiding around every corner, waiting for us to mess up so he can pounce us. Well, this feels like somebody working to get me stuck, get me to go to hell. So it makes sense. It is physiology, sophisticated physiology. Now, this thing was developed over millions of years, and it created a continuous line of life for that many millions of years. There must be something in there very powerful. When we developed the mammalian, what we call the mammalian brain, which we had to, when we got out of the water, we went from cold-blooded to warm-blooded, we had to notice different things. If it got cold, that was a danger, so our bodies felt, and then based on that feeling, it could be goosebumps, coolness, we moved to warm or shelter. Okay, so these two parts of the brain, we call them primitive. Well, okay, if we hadn't had the brainstem, which developed the midbrain, the emotional processor, there's no way we could have gotten to our rational brain. Okay, so there's, Ken Wilber talks about evolution, and he uses colors for, and you can probably help me with this, different stages of development. And he says that you don't lose the last stage, you integrate it into this stage. Well, the brainstem and midbrain have been integrated into our rational mind. So, and it's still powerful. So when we dismiss or ignore reptilian brain instincts, I'm a human being, I have reason, I can figure this out. This says, excuse my language, F you. And it's designed to keep me alive. And if it says, when somebody raises an eyebrow in the room, watch out, you're about ready to get lambasted or traumatized, this will make me respond. Below the surface of my rational brain, I'll watch myself do something, asking myself, why am I doing this as I'm doing it, and I can't stop. That was before my recovery and in my recovery, I noticed that I would violent, or I'd start screaming and yelling. And inside me, Marty, my voice said, what are you doing? Stop, this is silly. And I couldn't. My rational brain had no power over the limbic brainstem and midbrain. Now, to fight that caused more angst and resentment. So exactly. I got deeper into the addiction, deeper into codependency. When I developed this material, and you said, befriend, what was your term? Befriend, embrace? Befriend,
yes, befriend the shoulds.
Okay. So when I find myself in a reactive mode, if I find please, I go, oh, here I am again. Oh my God, I'm reacting. I don't go, oh my God, why did I do that? All this, I think I need to, I should, how come I have to, these people, they don't understand, we got to get there on time. It's like, oh, I can notice where I'm at. I'm afraid of being late. Oh, this says, thank you for recognizing me. I'm working real hard to get your attention. And if I fight it, it works harder to get my attention. And if I say, no, I'm not going to do that, I actually find myself in the behavior helpless. Time after time after time. So and one of the ways I believe you came to, but that's an assumption on my part, to befriend the results where I find myself based on this mechanism's need for me to survive with old information, traumatized. Let me give an example. If in my childhood I got that I was a burden, then it's in here in a frequency. There's really no words for it, but I just feel like I'm a burden. Okay, so for me to survive in my adulthood, even though I'm now rational, this mechanism says posture as if you're a burden. Like, that doesn't even make sense. But then I find myself codependent, addicted, or in some kind of avoidant, for me, with emotionally or verbally violent, and without recourse. So when I befriend, how I did that is simply own where I find myself in the avoidant behavior, let's say violence, and just come up here to the accountability tree without blame or judgment. Say, I'm violent. I'm violent towards the people I say I love. Nice deep breath. Oh, this is like, oh, you're finally listening to me. Thank you. And then something happens in my subconscious where I notice myself without blame or judgment, which is what? I want to unconditionally loving myself. I'm violent to the point of cruelty. Yes, because it was in alignment with my childhood trauma. And then in that breath, my body goes into a frequency mode, that's what I call motion feeling, that is in alignment with and validating the pain, which relieves the pain. And when I do this accountability tree, I can feel this sloughing, this energy and this upwhelming of acceptance. And then I say, in this feeling tone, I say, I intend to be kind. This mechanism that's taken millions of years sees that as a command and goes, yes. Now part of my survival is focused on kindness. It says yes, and I find myself in a different behavior. So the more I fight this, the more I have expectations. Oh, you dumbass, I'll come and do this, or what are they going to think? Oh, I'm going to be late. What are we going to do? And I go, oh, I have this. Well, every time I came in the room, I got yelled at, whether I was late or not. So it was like, if I'm late, I'm going to get in trouble. Well, I'm an adult. It's okay. So, yeah, befriend. The way we befriended is just simply tell the truth without blame or judgment. That's me validating myself on a frequency level, which heals takes the edge off the trauma and adds nurturing to my total consciousness, which means the information that this is filtering is different, which automatically means this is going to change. Because this is always in alignment with this going through the reticular activating system and the survival mechanism. I was watching a nature show, and they talk about ants. And if you ever try to get like a fly or an ant, they don't mess around. They're going to get away. That's survival. And they're not taking it personal. They're just like, don't be pushed, don't be throwing stuff on me. They're just like, they're gone. They're instantaneous. They're in a reactive mode to survive. So am I. If I haven't healed the trauma, something happens in my environment, raised eyebrow, I am instantaneously going to go into survival mode to survive, and I have no idea what it is. I got to explain to people why a grown-ass man is running out of the room and there's nothing wrong. It's like, where are you going? I don't know. I call it act full. And I got to explain that. I can't, because it was a reaction response to an unhealed trauma. This process, accountability tree, no blame, no judgment, saying the truth of where I find myself, heals the trauma, reframes it. I say, I intend to be kind, add something to the total conscious, total memory, which means the information that this mechanism is drawing from is different, and it has a new charge for my survival. It's always at work. Any place I find myself, it's because of the total accumulation of my experience. Even if I say today, I find myself compassionate on the freeway. Okay. That's because of all the times I was accountable for the angst and anger, and not anger, but violence I did. And then created an intent, and the intent it happens. So I'm going to stop there. Hopefully you got a question or a comment.
Yeah, what if I don't, John?
Yeah, I know, huh?
Yeah, but you know me, and Victoria's here, and if she has any questions, I'm going to invite her to pop in. So
Okay.
even though she's off camera, um, so I think it's really essential for me to continue to work to shift my attention from the traumatic experience that shows up as avoidant behavior and addictive behavior and stuff that's over there on it's off the camera right now, but and shift to focusing on or making an intention to focus on the befriending activity.
Oh,
Because as you were sharing and your insight about 3 billion years of evolution to get this the way it is worth befriending.
yeah.
I mean, what a gift that we're all given to have this body with this incredible configuration that's been thousands and hundreds of thousands and millions of years in development. So, but I don't know that that insight is adequate. I think it's useful, but it's not. I don't wake up in the morning yet and go, I'm really grateful for evolution creating me the way I am. So one of the things that occurs to me is the practice is to continue to create intentions to find ways to befriend that which I find myself criticizing internally, the should machine. So one of the things that one of the intentions I set for myself is I intend to let myself off every hook I put myself on.
Okay. Let me ask
And
you.
maybe the next intention, maybe the next thing is to befriend the hook that I put myself on.
Okay. The reason I have own the results, it's like own your projections, own the results, but just say the truth about where you're at without blame or judgment. If when I do this, I'm in a feeling, my frequency vibrates, goes up. And then when I say I intend, it has that emotion behind it, this frequency that gives that I intend to be kind power and I want to say focus. It's it's like an affirmation on steroids. So I created a lot of intents, and one of the sayings in the been around a long time. The road to hell is paved by good intentions. This process in owning the character defect, and that's the first time I use that term this time, character defect or behavior that I find myself in, that truth without blame or judgment puts me in a creative frequency emotion. And then when I say I intend to be kind, there's like fuel behind that. There's force behind that to embody inside me that now as truth. Um, who was that guy that created Power Positive Thinking?
Stephen Covey.
Okay, let's say that Stephen Covey in 1955 wrote Power Positive Thinking. Well, if Power Positive Thinking worked 55 years ago, what's that, 60, 70 years ago, 65 years ago, we'd be in some other place. Okay, so, and the reason I'm saying this is it's been powerful and effective in creating not only physiological changes inside me, but emotional and spiritual. Like it is my intent to be compassionate. And I find myself compassionate where before I was either dismissive, or I didn't care, I didn't have feeling. And it's like this worked on me based on the information to get me where it was dysfunctionally or from the trauma. This is still working on me from the truth, breath, feeling, tone, frequency I intend to be kind, there's power to it. This tree, well, I actually see it as the alchemic chamber, the hermetic chamber, the enclosed chamber. It's all inside me. The truth about character defect, I'm mean to the point of cruelty, is lead. I breathe, and the alchemic process beyond me, beyond my rational mind, is in the emotion and the intent. I intend to be kind. So I actually identify the lead, breathe, feel. It's like throwing a pebble in a pond. When the pebble hits the pond, the ripples go out, I want to say forever. Sound goes out forever. So I intend, there's power to it, and the embodiment, I don't want to say it happens quicker, it happens. And it's below my rational level, and I'm lucid in this feeling place, and I find, like right now, I'm not thinking about what I'm gonna say. I'm saying it from this open, spacious place, and I hear myself talking to you instead of thinking about what I should say. This, getting to that truth, is profound, with the purpose of healing and creating an intent. I have, and I don't talk a lot about in the brackets here, power and choice. And this is where my power of creativity is. And my definition of power is proportional to the amount of choices that I have in any given moment. See, we talked about when we started this black and white thinking, right, wrong, expectations, good, bad. Well, this takes me out of that polarity into, I'm going to say, an infinite number of possibilities. Let's say 10,000 possibilities. Now, 9,992 are freaking ridiculous. But I have now 8 choices that are pertinent to my situation, where before I had 2. And my 2 choices was hit it or leave it. Now I have, what do I want? I'm lucid, and I'm not taking personal. There's all kinds of things happening in here. And it's in that statement of truth. Focused with purpose to heal whatever created that truth. I'm an alcoholic. I intend to live authentically. Okay. I'm finding myself, well, I could drink alcohol if I wanted. I just don't want to. I don't want to give up what I got. And I know that alcohol and or drugs, opiates, painkillers, take me out of this lucid place, and I'm not willing. I'm not willing. Now, I've gone through several operations and procedures. If my body's in pain, I will take painkillers, but I will take them as long as I need to get through the pain, and then they're gone. They're out. No, give me some aspirin, give me something. I'll take some herbs or whatever, because I want to be lucid in this, because my reticular activating system now sees that as survival instead of reactive response. Fight, flight, freeze, please. Okay.
Yeah, I appreciate the insights. I've actually learned quite a bit listening to you, and I've been listening to you for years, so it's great that I can still learn something new. So that the opportunity is to cultivate patience, because my experience is that this is not a one and out. And in
No,
fact, in your
no.
workbook, you have that little red arrow from the bottom of the accountability tree back. It looks like it's now nested in a heart, and the arrow on either side is saying repeat.
Yes.
And so the opportunity / challenge here is to learn patience, which I think is totally bound up in what you just walked us through anyway. It's like, how do I be patient? Well, give myself permission, notice where I am, give myself permission to be there. breathe, say what I want instead, and repeat the process.
Mhm.
And notice if I have expectations that this process should yield a certain outcome. Because I think partly that's where some of us get caught, is we have a belief that if we do this process X number of times, then manna will start coming from heaven. And if manna doesn't come from heaven, then we must be doing it wrong.
Right. Here's the way I put it. It gives me the capacity to face life as it's coming to me. If I'm in a tragic situation, I respond to the tragic situation in a healthy way. Where before I screw people, I gotta go get drunk, it's their fault, it's their fault, it's their fault. Instead of being proactive in my life. Yeah, that's that expectation. I tell people, if you're looking to feel good or better, go see Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins will make you feel good. Okay, and not, I want to like say Tony Robbins is a good man. I say that to be funny and to emphasize where I'm taking you is into the shadow. And in the shadow, not only the wounding's in there, but our authentic self is in there right next to the wounding. I was doing men's work and we talked about going into the pit or going into our shadow. And we said that the deeper you're willing to go into the pit on these character defects, the bigger the pieces of gold. So that's my, I want to maybe tradition or where I came from or what I came through. And it works for me. And this isn't the way, it's a way. And it's attractive to a certain demographic of people. Tony Robbins attracts a demographic. Joe Dispenza attracts a demographic. Gabriel Mate attracts a demographic of people. So I intend to stay in what I know. And if you're interested, please join. And I'll give you the best information I can in the short amount of time. And I've seen, I won't say miracle, it's not a miracle, it's just a healing, a way to heal, and then present differently in the world. And if you just to pay attention, if this is what you want, do it again. If it's not what you want, oh, okay, no, I want this, and then refocus to this, whatever this might be. I don't have a good example of that right now, but owning where you're at as something coming from inside you is empowering because now you have choice. Own this. Here's the latest one I got. I am sophisticated at shirking responsibility. It is my intent to be proactive in my career and life. It's like, I'm 35 years of recovery, I'm 73 years old, 25 years of doing this, and there's more here. And it becomes more sophisticated, deep, and subtle, maybe, and not so subtle at times. And I intend to address when it comes up, when I'm ready. That's usually when it comes up is when I'm ready. It's that saying, God doesn't give you anything you can't handle. And I'm gonna do it again. I'm gonna do it again. I'm not, you can do whatever you want. I know that this has created a life for me I never knew was possible. I want more. And if I find myself discordant or resentful or judgmental or dismissive or withholding, I'm gonna own it. I'm gonna own it. I'm withholding. I intend to be giving. I intend to be gracious. I intend to be generous, genuine, and then see what happens. So there you have it.
That's very powerful and inspirational, and I'm signing up with you. Because what I just heard you say, in my own words, is that one of the gifts of the work is that it brings us to deeper elements of ourselves, deeper currents of truth
Yes.
that then allow us more freedom as we take on befriending those deeper currents, because
Yeah.
it's all me. It's all, there's no escaping me. And when these experiences show up, like for example, you just said something about did you use the word irresponsible? What was the word you used?
I shirk
Jerk.
responsibility.
Yeah. Okay. So I think I might have shared this a little bit on the last podcast, but I was dealing with um, reluctance that I was having about travel plans with another friend of mine. And I found myself feeling anxious and stressed and so forth. And then my training kicked in and basically said, well, why don't you call him and share this with him? And I
Yeah.
realized I didn't call him and share that with him because I was enjoying the stress. I was enjoying being back in family of origin body chemistry. And like, I'm still addicted to it. I'm willing to own that. I'm still addicted to it. There's nothing wrong, no blame, no judgment. It's just how it's developed.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that I've undergone this training and done this work with you and others for the last 12 years or so has given me the insight or the capability to have insights in that case, like, well, wait a minute, whoa. There's another possibility here. What it's almost like circling back and looking at the scene of the crime again and seeing what clues I missed the first time.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
And I come back and I think I shared when I called my friend and told him what was up. He goes, well, let's not go on that trip then. Let's do something else.
Yeah.
And the same thing, I had the same thing today. There's something else came up as we're planning this new trip, and I was feeling, I got an email, and I didn't like the interpretation of, I didn't like the information and how I was interpreting. So I said to Victoria, I'm just going to call him and just talk to him. So funny, I called him and we talked it and got ourselves on the same wavelength and moving forward.
I had a similar experience. I went in um, Wednesday for a CT scan, and it was scheduled for 1:30. So I'm sitting there at 1:30, and all the people that came in after me started being asked to go out. So about 10 to 2, I go up to, I said, I'm kind of feeling like a redheaded stepchild here. What's going on? And she looked it up and she go, oh, so and so's still at lunch. So, that was, he's late from lunch. Okay. So then he came and got me about 5 minutes later, and he walks me down this aisle, and he said, "This CT scan, they're going to give me an IV," and I didn't know that I was going to. They just said CT scan, and he said, "Wait in here." And I went into this waiting room, and it was freezing cold. It's like the thermostat was stuck on low, and so I just stepped out of the waiting room and was in the hallway, and people are running around. I heard emergency room crisis. And then this gentleman walked by and said, "Can I help you?" And I said, "Well, I'm just waiting here because it's too cold in the waiting room for a CT scan." And then he looked. I said, "Who are you, by the way?" He says, "I'm the manager of the radiology department." And I said, "Oh, cool." So he found out that he went to this one door and he opened the door and he goes, "Oh, they must be at lunch." And I'm thinking, this doesn't feel right. There's something. So he found a guy, the phlebotomist or nurse that was going to put the IV in, and he seemed not to know what was going on. And what I found out, he was a guy that came in from a different hospital because they were low on staff. And right when he's getting ready to put the needle in my arm, I said, is it okay if I don't do this right now? He goes, "Sure. This just doesn't feel right. So I'll reschedule because there's something going on with emergency. I don't know. I'm not blaming anybody. And this doesn't seem like professional, or there's something else going on where people are distracted." and I don't plan on putting my body in this distracted place. Not that they're doing anything wrong. I don't know what, I had no idea what the issue was. So he walked me back, and actually, as he was walking me back to the counter, we got lost in the hospital corridors. And I'm thinking, oh, good choice. Um, and he finally got me back there, and they gave me a number to reschedule, and I'm going to reschedule. But before I would have got mad, blamed somebody, I got to do this. How come they're doing this to me? No, no, nobody's doing anything to me. I have choice, and this doesn't seem right. So, no, I'll do it later if you don't mind. And he was gracious and said, oh, no problem, no problem. So yeah, that's different for me too.
Well, and I just suggest as I listen to the story, because I've had similar experiences in the last couple of weeks, that that is made possible by our beginning to train ourselves to just be present with what is and notice
Right.
it.
Yes.
So you were noticing your discomfort, you were noticing the environment, atmosphere, and instead of the old compulsive behavior, which I could easily identify with, I have to do this. I signed up for it, I have to.
Right.
Well, who that goes to your new element of the five constants. Question the story. Is that true?
Yes, exactly. And with the guy being late from lunch, I didn't make the assumption that he was just being lazy. He may have not been able to go to lunch until late. I don't know. And
Right,
to me, that seems like a reasonable assumption. I still don't know because I didn't ask him. And no, I don't want to do this today.
right.
Yeah, cool.
So we have a few minutes left. I just wanted to go revisit something you said earlier, or I heard you say earlier, about Ken Wilber and his insight about transcend, include, and integrate.
Right.
Wilber actually doesn't use integrate. I do that. Wilber
Oh, I see.
says transcend and include. And my insight is that until there's integration, there's still friction. So, and that's where the challenge is. So, for example, I would assert that at the physiological level, the triune brain is integrated. I mean, all those parts of the brain stem, the limbic system, the neocortex, they all work together. But what doesn't work together yet is the product of the rational mind integrating the emotional and the survival mind at the level of consciousness.
Right.
So what I've asserted in talking to you and in my own work is that the one of the pluses of doing this work is we're contributing to an evolution doing that. We are contributing to learning to integrate this physical truth at the level of consciousness, because I don't feel I'm there yet, and
Okay.
I know that that's entirely possible to occur.
Okay. So what's keeping me from noticing what's going around on me are the obstacles. My experience with my parents was you never knew what they were going to do. And if you had a complaint, just keep it to yourself or you get told you're stupid or lazy or so I wouldn't have said anything I wouldn't have noticed. I'd have just been reactive. How come I'd have taken the guys coming back late from lunch personal and judged it as unprofessional. I don't know. And the beliefs that I had and the perceptions is I'm at their mercy. Doctor knows best. Well, now I don't have that belief anymore because I've done the work here. I've owned the character defects that I had, which opens up my rational mind to be more inclusive and not make assumptions. That's where the question, the story. It's like um, several years ago, I was talking to a therapist, and she said, John, when I listen to you, your stories, you do not have an autobiographical story. And I said, what are you talking about? You're not in it. You're not being proactive anywhere in that. You're deflecting or reacting to everything instead of being proactive. So, and a couple of weeks ago, somebody said something about their story, and I added it to the constants because the story has all the trauma in it. Without going to on the results, taking it to the tree and reframing the conditioning that the reticular activating system's trying to maintain, like be this way, and it opens me up to where now these three brains work together. Ian McGilchrist talks about the limbic system, right hemisphere, left hemisphere. The right hemisphere is intuitive, I believe. Left hemisphere, no, the opposite. Right hemisphere is intuitive, left hemisphere is rational. And when the rational mind, or the beliefs coming from trauma, are overwhelming the intuitive mind, there's trouble. This is the master and its emissary. The emissary is the rational brain following the heart, which is intuitive hits like me being aware and not judgmental, just being aware there's something wrong here. It could have been a crisis in the emergency room, could have been lack of personnel, doesn't matter. There's something going on that doesn't feel right. And that's when the rational brain goes, maybe I don't want to do this right now. Instead of going to old behaviors, patterns of behaviors, expectations. Well, they should be professional. Well, they are. I don't know what's going on. Beliefs about them knowing better for me than what I know. Doctor is God. Perceptions of people trying to, I'm the victim of whatever I gotta like please them, so I'm okay. All that's been taken out of the way, so the brainstem, midbrain, informs my rational brain in a lucid way how to keep myself safe. Instead of being reactive, I was proactive in that whole thing, from sitting waiting, asking what's going on without an edge to it, and then noticing how the guy held himself, how everything that was going on. I made the decision, I don't want to do this right now. And nobody was at fault. Nobody was wrong. So yeah, triune brain. Limbic brain, reptilian, is a part of who I am. The emotional processor, the limbic part, the amygdala, and all the other things that I don't know how to say, that process my emotions, feed information unfiltered through my trauma. Not all trauma, I still am reactive in some places, but then I become lucid in the moment and proactive. But yeah, triune brain. I'm going to start a book called, it's about floating, that weightless floating in salt water. I was told that the guy broke up, and he used, I think, the term triune brain in a sense deprivation space to where those come together. The limbic, the midbrain, and the rational brain start working properly or in complementary to each other instead of one trumping everything, like survival trumping everything. Okay, cool.
Well, exactly. Yeah, and the development of neocortex at the level of mass humanity is maybe 2,000 years old, and certainly as an identifiable phenomenon, only 500 years old. So it makes sense to me that this stuff takes time to integrate and to find a new way of expressing, a new way of feeling. So again, I think that the work that we're doing is making a contribution to that.
Absolutely.
Without knowing how that's going to play out. Don't need to know. Well, we've come to the end of our time together. For those of you who are watching, particularly those of you who may be new, we work this process together in group at least 4 times a week, John facilitates a meeting on Saturday mornings at 8:30 Pacific time, and I and several colleagues in Sacramento facilitate meetings during the week in the afternoons and evenings. Monday at 6:30, Wednesday at 4, and Thursday at 6:30, also all Pacific time, all on Zoom. So anybody who would like to learn more about this process, would like to see it or practice it in practical application, at the end of the podcast, information on how to contact me or John will be there, and we'll be happy to send you the Zoom URLs, and we'd love to have you come and have an experience of what we're doing here. John and I are talking about it, and we've shared our experiences with it, and this is a process that's open to anybody and everybody. So please feel free to join us. And with that, from the cloud forest of Costa Rica, I leave you the last word, John.
You enjoy enjoy your time with Victoria now. She's a gracious host, so I'm envious.
All right, brother, and I'll be back in the States for our next podcast.
Okay.
So again, thanks for a great learning today.
You're welcome. You're so welcome.